theory. They believe Christie was selling you protection for your club.
So?
So maybe Christie was told to close you up.
By whom?
Tony Milano.
Why couldn't Tony have killed Christie?
Well, he could have. Only there are a couple of things that argue against it. One, Tony had Christie in his hip pocket. You don't generally destroy what you control. There's even a stronger argument than that.
What?
The rabbit foot they found near Christie's body.
Oh, that's a frame.
You generally carry it with you?
No, I don't believe in that stuff. Last I saw of it, it was in my desk.
Anybody else have a key to your apartment?
Nope.
Oh, that's just dandy. About this gal who gave you the rabbit's foot. What's her name?
Jean Patterson.
You think this Jean might...
No, I want her kept out of this, Malone.
You're asking the impossible,
She's
Jack.
got nothing to do with this.
Suppose you let me decide that for myself. Lieutenant! I want out.
Yes?
Hello, Jean.
Do I know you?
No, but that can be easily remedied. My name is Malone.
And you heard me singing one night and you decided I was the girl of your dreams.
No, not quite. You say I'm a lawyer.
Well, when I want to sue somebody, Mr. Malone...
Oh, don't call me. I'll be tied up with Jack Reed.
Jack Reed?
Didn't you see this morning's papers?
No.
They're holding him for the murder of a politician named Christie.
Maybe you better come in.
Thanks.
Now, what's this all about?
Well, you see this Christie...
I'm not interested in that. How am I involved?
Well, they found a rabbit's foot you gave Jack near the body.
You listen to me, Malone. I didn't even know Christie...
No one says you did, Jean. All I'm hoping to accomplish...
Don't tell me your plans. I'm not interested. Jack's got some nerve ringing me into this.
Well, in all fairness to him, lover, it wasn't Jack's idea.
Don't tell me it was yours.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. Malone. This is just the kind of publicity I love.
You don't seem to realize your boyfriend's in a jam. He may go to the chair.
Oh, I'm awful sorry for Jack. What about me?
What about you?
I got my career to think of, and if you'll excuse me, Mr. Malone, I'll give it some thought right now.
All right. Take it easy. Yeah?
Is Mr. Milano in?
Oh, you're Jean Patterson, aren't you?
Would you mind telling Mr. Milano I'd like to see him?
He isn't here.
Well, when do you expect him?
Never. Now, if I were you, sister,
Who is it, Georgie?
It's nobody, boss. I'll be right...
It's me, Tony.
What?
It's Jean.
Oh. Hello, Miss Patterson.
It was Jean the last time.
Yeah, but you say then you don't want to be friends.
Can't I change my mind?
Should I throw her out, Tony?
You crazy? Jeannie, come on in.
Thanks. Say, this is quite a place.
Nicer than Jack Reed's?
Well, different. Who picked out this color scheme?
You don't like white?
Reminds me of a hospital.
It's very antiseptic.
Oh, yeah, of course, that's okay.
Sit down, baby, sit down. Maybe you like a drink, huh?
Yeah, but there's something else I'd like first.
Well, you just name it.
A little privacy.
All right, Georgie, you heard the lady.
What's the matter with you, Tony?
Go on and beat it. Jeannie and I got a lot of things to discuss.
Are you crazy? How do you know she wasn't sent here by Malone? Go on, sister, blow.
You gonna let him talk to me like that, Tony?
Now listen, sister, I know all
Shut
about...
up! Now get out.
Okay, Tony. I'll see you around.
Don't bother.
Why, Mr. Milano, you're all right.
That dirty lowlife. Look what he did to my knuckles.
Oh, you caught him. Maybe I can make it better.
No. We mustn't take a chance on infection. You sit there, baby. Tony be right back. And then we're going to have a nice long talk.
Hey, Charlie, you see Georgie? Oh, never mind.
Hello, Rube.
How can we talk, Malone?
What's wrong with this?
Well, I did like you told me. I followed that Jean Patterson, and where do you suppose she went?
Where?
To see Tony Milano.
Tony Milano. You sure about that, Rube?
I swear on my mother's grave.
I wonder where they first met.
Well, it couldn't be so long ago. Jean's been going with Jack ever since she came into Chicago.
What happened?
Well, they got along swell. The boss was nuts about her.
I'm in Milano's apartment.
Oh, well, how should I know? I'm no peeping Tom. Oh, yeah, a couple of minutes after she walked in, Georgie Kelp came out.
Tony's boy?
Yeah, he was rubbing his jaw.
Sounds like they might have had trouble.
Well, what do you think, Malone?
You did all right, Rube. Let's hope I can do as well. Well, there it is, Lieutenant. What more can you want?
A little proof for
It's
one
as obvious
thing.
as a hole in your head. Tony framed Jack Reed.
Why?
Could be for a million reasons.
Oh, I love how you throw those figures around.
Well, it's true. Now, suppose Tony had a yen for Gene Patterson.
So he kills a politician he has in his pocket just to get rid of Reed.
All right, maybe that came later. Maybe Tony didn't have Christie in his pocket. We know Christie was selling them out.
How do we know that?
Well, Jack was still operating. He couldn't do it without Christie's help.
You're changing horses in midstream.
Yeah. Well, the more I think about it, I bet it's the real reason. Milano had an exclusive on Christie's services. When Christie double-crossed him, Tony put him away.
And what about that rabbit's foot?
I don't know where Milano got his hands on that, but if you work hard enough, you'll find the answer.
You're amazing, Mr. Malone.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, you're making sense for a change.
And you believe my client was framed?
Yeah, the only thing that bothers me is how to prove it.
Well, Georgie Kelk must have been along with Tony at the time of the killing.
You don't think Georgie'd talk?
He might if you staged it right.
What do you mean?
Let Jack Reed go.
Are you stark raving?
It's our only chance. What do you think will happen when Tony finds out the police no longer suspect Jack Reed?
What?
I don't know either. Let's find out.
Come on in, darling. I'll be ready in just a minute.
Hello, Gene.
Jack.
What's the matter? Aren't you glad to see me?
Oh, of course, darling. It's just... Well, it's such a surprise.
Well, that Malone's quite a lawyer.
Then they know you didn't kill Christie.
That was my impression.
Well, who did?
What's the matter, Gene? You thinking of hedging again?
I don't get you, Jack.
I heard about you and Mr. Milano.
You what?
Mm-hmm. Rube filled me in on the gory details.
Oh, listen, Jack, you gotta believe me. I was only doing it for you.
Oh, baby.
Oh, I mean it. I thought I could trap Tony into making some admission.
I gotta hand it to you, Gene. That's a nice piece of ad-libbing.
Oh, darling, when I cross you.
You'd cross your own grandmother if you thought it'd do you any good. What are you going to do now, baby? It's only a question of time before they pick up your new meal ticket.
You think you're so smart. Well, Tony's twice the man you
Good
are.
for him.
You think he's going to take this laying down?
No, what's he going to do?
You just watch and see, Mr. Reed. You just watch and see.
Yeah.
Malone?
Uh-huh.
Brooks.
I never would have known. How we doing, Lieutenant?
Great.
What do you mean?
That plan of yours is working like a million. Letting Jack Reed go certainly started the ball rolling.
What did I tell you?
You certainly did.
I'll bet Tony Milano doesn't know where he's at.
Probably not.
What about Georgie Kelk? You hear from him?
Yeah, about 10 minutes ago.
I figured he'd be scared, silly. What did he have to say?
Not very much.
Why won't he talk?
For 2 reasons. 1, he ain't in the mood. 2, he's got a bullet through his head. I want to see you, Malone.
You are listening to the amazing Mr. Malone. Everybody knows about today's critical housing shortage and the various reasons for this shortage. But there are many people who do not think of one very important contributing factor: forest fires. Last year, forest fires burned enough trees of saw timber to build about 86,000 five-room homes. 9 out of every 10 forest fires are man-made. Most of these man-caused fires are due to plain carelessness. And that's why everyone, therefore, should follow these simple rules of forest fire prevention. Crush out cigarette, cigar, and pipe ashes. Break matches in 2 after using. And drown all campfires. Remember, you are a potential firebug, so be careful. Now, back to the amazing Mr. Malone.
20 minutes later, I was down at headquarters. When I walked into Lieutenant Brooks' office, the first one I noticed was my client, Jack Reed. He didn't say anything. He just shook his head sadly and motioned toward the desk. And then I saw Brooks. It's lucky I did, because he was sighting a revolver at me.
Well, if it isn't the amazing Mr. Malone.
I got a good mind.
You haven't got a good mind, and put down that gun.
If you had any brains, I swear I'd blow them up.
What happened?
You tell him, Jack.
Well, I went up to Georgie Kelk's place about 8:30 tonight.
Now, what did you do that for? I told you to stay away.
Yeah, I see now it was a mistake. Anyway, Georgie was certainly surprised. I think if I'd had 5 minutes more, I would have gotten the whole story.
Well?
Suddenly, the door opened. All I saw was an arm and a gun. I yelled to Georgie to get down, but I was a little late. It was a shot. A second later, someone tossed that rod into the room and almost brained me.
That the gun there?
Yeah, want to see it?
Yeah, what about the...
Fingerprints? Area 1. It's as clean as a baby's thoughts.
Whose gun is it?
It's mine.
What?
Yeah, it's an old one I had in my apartment.
Well, how did it...
Well, how did my rabbit's foot get near Christie's body?
Here we go again.
Listen, Lieutenant, you looked into that angle?
Uh-huh.
What's the story?
The superintendent of the house, a boy named Grimes, has the only passkey.
You think this Grimes might have done business with Tony Milano?
We're checking that now.
When you finish, give us a call. We'll be over at Tony's.
Tony, if I know Jack...
What are you worried about, Jeannie? I know Jack, too.
But you don't understand. Malone got him out.
He's a pretty good lawyer. Now you listen to me, Doc. You got nothing to worry about. Didn't Tony say he'd take care of you?
I know you will, darling. It's only that...
Yes?
Hello, Tony.
Malone. Jean and I was just talking about you.
Well, I appreciate that. You know Jack Reed, don't you?
Jack.
Sure. How are you, fella?
He's the boy, Malone.
I'm a water boy.
Where were you around 8:30 tonight?
Why?
That's the time Georgie Kelk was murdered.
Not a good old Georgie.
Yes, a good old Georgie. You got an alibi for that time?
Yeah. I was right here.
Uh-huh. And, of course, Jean's your witness.
That's right.
Oh, now, look, I don't want to be involved.
Sure, you got your career
What's
to think
the matter, doll? Don't you remember? We were sitting right there.
You're lying, Tony.
You sound like you can prove it, Jack.
I can't. He's the one who shot Kelk.
You're out of your mind.
You didn't see his face?
No, I didn't have to. You see that bandage he's got on his knuckles?
Where did you pick that up, Tony?
None of your business.
I'll tell you.
Shut up.
He hit Kelk when Kelk insulted me.
I didn't think that was possible. Go on, Jack. What about the bandage?
Well, when he tossed the gun into the room, I noticed
You're a liar.
I don't think so.
Whoa! Come in, Lieutenant. How did you make out?
Couldn't be better. Superintendent admits he sold Tony here the use of the passkey for $300. What do you say, Milano?
Nothing until I see a lawyer.
What's wrong with me?
You mean you take my case?
Well, it all depends. I think I could get you off for Georgie's murder.
Are you out of your mind, Malone?
Don't you think I can, Jack?
No.
You're just saying that because you killed him.
He what?
Let's have that again.
What for, Jack? You got it the first time. You killed Georgie Kelk.
I don't know how you do it, Malone.
Shall I tell you a secret, Lieutenant?
No, you don't either. All right, what's the real story?
Well, it all come down to Jack Reed's idea of poetic justice. He thought once we figured that Tony killed Christie and planted that rabbit's
We
foot...
figured Georgie Kelk's murder was the same routine all over again.
That's it.
What convinced you otherwise?
Jack's gun.
Why was that any different from the rabbit's foot?
Remember you told me there were no fingerprints on it?
Oh, there weren't.
Well, obviously then, Georgie's killer had to be wearing gloves.
How do you arrive at that?
Jack claimed he chucked the rod into the room right after the shot, taking no time to wipe it off.
So?
So, later, Jackie said he knew Tony was the man because he spotted him by that bandage on his knuckles.
But if the murderer wore gloves, how could you see a bandage?
You couldn't.
Oh.
See how simple it is?
Well, being simple-minded yourself must help you a great deal.
Yes, it does. When you work up to that state, you'll find out.
Well, you know who I'm sorry for?
Yeah, Jean Patterson.
No, I wasn't thinking of her.
Well, I was. Poor girl. She tried to play both ends against the middle.
Wound up with nothing.
I begged your pardon.
Where you going?
Well, I owe Jean something for putting away both her friends. Maybe I can further her career. Good night, Lieutenant. Ever hear the story of the blasé character who thought nothing could surprise him until he tried murder, and then he was shocked to death? I'll fill you in on all the details next week, so why not pick me up at my office at the same time? I'll be waiting for you. Good night.
Frank Lovejoy was starred as John J. Malone. Our program was written by Gene Wang with direction by Bill Rousseau. Music by Rex Corey. The Amazing Mr. Malone is produced by